Hello, fiends, friends, and familiars. This is Matt Orozco here from Macabre Daily, and I am so excited, as I was telling our guests before they joined, to be having Marcel Walz with us today, who is someone who spent decades in the industry working, making films in Europe and the US, and he's promoting his forthcoming film, Garden of Eden, which we cannot wait for you all to see. So, Marcel, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. And like I told you before, like my voice sounds a little bit weird. I just catch the cold, so I'm sorry for
It's
that.
okay. Hopefully, you're on the mend because nothing's worse than having a cold,
It's the
ever.
worst. It's also like the biggest problem is it's a man cold. You know what that means?
Yeah.
I'm handling like a baby. Just saying. It's the
It's
worst.
okay. Men, women, or other all handles it. Man colds terribly. So it's
Yeah, it's the
we're not
worst.
built to be that sick. That's just the
No,
way it is.
no.
Well, Marcel, I'm so excited to talk with you about Garden of Eden because as I was sharing with you before we started recording, we actually reported on this years ago, and it's so
Yeah.
amazing that this is now coming to see the light of day and folks are going to get to see it. But I want, if you could, in your own words, kind of tell folks very briefly, what is the Garden of Eden?
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's hard to keep like say it in like just in like a few words, but it's it's I don't want to. Sometimes people call it elevated torture porn. It's not though. It is, but it's not. It's a Christian movie about um hmm it's really hard to say. It's like it's you. Sometimes I always tell people you should watch it
Right.
to see what it is. But it's very brutal. It's very fucked up sometimes. But that was our way to show manipulations like through like when you go into like a cult or a family or what religion could do. So I think that's or how far they would could go or it's also very like money based.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I could like. That's the few words I would use to um when I tell people what the movie is, kind of.
I mean, I think it's you're right. I apologize for starting with such a difficult question because it is it is a film that has multiple layers to it and is
Yes.
structured very much in kind of a vignette style where you're seeing these, things happening to specific points in time but are part of a greater whole. So it is an indictment, if you will, even of religion and capitalism and abuse and
Yes.
manipulation and maybe that revenge, is revenge really worth it, those kinds of things. So
That's exactly, yeah. That was our way to tell, hey, revenge, fine, but how far would you go, or is it worth it? Yeah.
yeah, and I know you collaborated with Joe, and I hope I'm saying his last name correctly. Is it Netter?
Yes.
Okay, I figured the K was
Well, you
silent,
you
but
asking a German person, so I don't know, but I think that's right.
well, I feel like it's right. So, Joe, if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying it terribly, please scold me in the
No,
DMs.
no, it's
But
so yeah, yeah.
but I know you're collaborating with him again on this film, and I'm curious kind of how involved you were during the script writing process because this does feel like it has so many of your kind of signature trademarks on it that it feels like, you must have been involved at some extent, but I'm curious to how much and so.
The funny thing is that script, that was actually the first thing Joe ever wrote for me. So even before Blind and everything we did together, that was the first script he wrote for me. And that one was I was really involved in it with my ideas and here that's the story, that's what I want. This and that. But that was also like years ago. And if I would have made that movie years ago, it would have been a different movie.
Hmm.
So I think now it changed a lot. Maybe also because now I found my style and what I actually want to do or what the the perfect me, I would say, for that kind of budget. And yeah, so that's the funny thing about that movie is that is the first thing Joe wrote for me, and I told him, hey, I he knew my what I liked, so he knew that I'm a huge fan of American Horror Story, and he knew kind of my style a little bit. But yeah, so that's actually how everything started. And then
Oh,
after
wow.
that, we did Blind together.
Oh, excellent. So
Yeah.
sounds like this was the beginning of a very kind of good collaboration and partnership.
Yes,
Um,
yes. So he knew I liked fucked up shit, and I knew he liked fucked up shit. So hey, let's do something
it's
together.
kismet. That's what that is. I mean, and given that you were kind of involved with a lot of the story development part for this film, what does this movie mean to you, as a filmmaker? Because it is so filled with themes and kind of, and it doesn't make a statement per se, but it certainly is infused with kind of commentary about what's happening in our broader society today. So I'm
Yes,
curious, kind of the personal relationship you have to the story and the themes within it.
it's it's. I think for me personally, I mean, I always thought that like because this movie is really like religion based, and that's actually something Joe brought in
Hmm,
the whole aspect about religion and all that kind of stuff. So he brought that element, and it's like I liked it so much because this is I'm I don't want to say I'm not a religion person, but I do believe in something. But it's always creepy to me how the society or how religion is like for me they're kind of like a cult. That's
right.
every single one, even if it's like crazy religion or not, whatever it is, or it always feels that way, even if they're trying to pretend it's not. But there's always like a little bit of something in there. So that's why we made this movie. Garden of Eden is like so cult based. Also, there's like it feels like there's a cult in within in this family, and there's like you can see all the little notes of like how people manipulate others to join like the cult or like the family in this case. And yeah, yeah, that's I think that's for me the biggest point of that movie, like how people would um yeah, the cult aspect is
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what it is. Yeah.
and I think you've hit on something so important at this moment in particular is that, religion and like the separation between religion and the rest of our lives used to be kind of a given, but now we're seeing a
Yes.
lot of it more bleeding into our every day. And you're right, even the
Yes.
most benign things are in a sense kind of ritualistic, like going and
Yeah.
praying is a ritual that's no different regardless of
That's
what religion.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like for me personally, I don't have to believe. I don't have to go to a church to believe in God.
Right.
I don't have to go there. It's if I believe in something, that's just me. That's in my mind. That's in my head. So and what I live and what I what I try to like to live. And I don't need like a specific building to be close to God or to whatever kind of spirit or religion you believe in.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then and there's and I think that there is in Garden of Eden particularly, there's a sense that lots of things are presented, but the kind of clarity of moral right and wrong are very much blurred because you understand that there's very much two sides to the stories that you're seeing in
Oh yeah.
here. So I'm curious why what is important to have that moral ambiguity being such a constant throughout the film?
Well, that was actually very even I don't want to spoil the end, but even at the end, there's like through a whole movie, you never know what's right and what's wrong. So and we wanted to keep that open, kind of open, because there's always two sides on everything, and we don't want to speak for one or the other.
Right.
So that's, I mean, what I think as a director, that's my thing. What Joe thinks as a writer, whatever he thinks, the audience they can think whatever they want to think, or at the end, then they was like, okay, I'm on this side, or well, or on that side. Well, actually, you shouldn't be on the one side, but but there's always like no matter what in life, there's always a 50-50 and a balance. So there's one on the other side. So no, is it like do I like a specific kind of food, yes or no, or there's always something. So, and that's why we wanted to keep that pretty much open, and for also for the audience to decide what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, you really do give the audience a lot to think about and a lot to take in.
Yes.
Because folks that are familiar with your work should expect that there's going to be, a lot of gore and a lot of really well done practical
Yes.
effects. Um, but in some ways, this feels like almost an inverse of La Petite Mort, which you did back in like 2009. And so and it demonstrates, I think, a lot of growth that you've seen as a filmmaker, just visually speaking.
Yes.
But I'm curious, there's a lot of time that's passed since then in Garden of Eden. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned throughout your career that you've
Oh my
applied
God.
to your current film slate? Of
Here's the thing, I'm still learning because I think
course.
every time when I walk on set, there's something new happening, and I say, "Oh, that never happened before to me. So this is something new." So, and I don't want to stop learning because this is filmmaking for me is like it will be always a process because there is for me I never think, oh, that's the end, and I am I that's the best movie I can do. It's not the case because there's also you can so many better and bigger things when you get a better or a bigger budget. So it's always also budget. The budget, what is like, okay, that's so much I can do. So
Right.
here, that's the limit we have. But it's also funny that you brought up La Petite Mort because that was actually the title of the script before it's from Garden of Eden before we renamed to Garden of Eden because my plan was making a remake a better movie out of La Petite Mort. That's why there's so many like little things in there. It's like that's similar to that movie or even La Petite Mort 2. So especially La Petite Mort 2, to be honest. With some characters and then at one point like that's what I'm saying, it's like if I would have made that movie in 2019 or 2018 it would have been a different movie and I would have shot it probably more similar to or the style would have been more similar to La Petite Mort. But now after all those years I was like actually that's after reading that script over and over and like you know what it doesn't feel like a La Petite Mort really if I would do it now and we changed some little tiny little things and um and we just made like a whole different movie and like a whole different like we didn't pay too much attention to La Petite Mort anymore and I think that was a good decision um and but we kept all the brutality so there's that.
Yeah, it definitely carries that same sense of like, these are some extremely gnarly kill scenes. But
Yes.
they also have, I think, a bit more of a reason in Garden of Eden because there's so
Oh,
much more. But are you still thinking about remaking La Petite Mort?
nah, no.
You moved
Now it's
on.
like no, not anymore. It's like it was it was a tiny little movie and we had barely a budget and but that kind of gave me a little like a name in Germany like for the underground scene. And I was like always hoping, oh my God, what could I have done with more budget? So but that's always the case. Even now with like Garden of Eden, oh my God, if we would have millions, dear God, whatever. But now after all those years I was like nah, let's keep Levity more there. It helped me back in the days but for now I guess we're fine.
Well, I certainly don't want you to sell yourself too short because the effects in both La Petite Mort and Garden of Eden, even though there's, definitely a budget difference, still look
Yes.
fantastic. And, in Garden of Eden in particular, I think folks are going to be really, you're either going to buy in or you're not, but you're going to know pretty quickly. And I'm curious if there's anything you've ever thought about or written or even tried to do through your filmmaking that you've been like, no, I think that's too much. Anything that's made you squeamish.
Oh, actually, yes. And I talked to Joe about. So we had that idea. Okay, I have to. So I don't want to spoil the end. So there's the one scene at the end, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So, and even I was like, I was reading it, and like, to a certain point, we are like, okay, that's what we do. Like, and then that scene goes a little bit further, and I'm like, oh, should we do this? And then that was even a moment for me, like, I don't know. Is this too much or is it not? And then at one point, and even we even discussed that scene on set. And the actor who's doing that scene, he was like, I don't know, do I? This is a lot, and everything is like, and we said, well, let's film it and let's see what we can do, on or just to have it and decide in the edit what we do. And and then there was the moment on set, and he said like, fuck it, hand it over to me. So he was in on set. The camera is rolling and everything, and the all everything was ready to go. And he, like, in the middle of the take, he said like, "Fuck it, give it over, bring it over." And then everyone freezed, and then it's like, "Oh my god, it's happening!" So our special effects guy. Vincent, who's fantastic. I love him. He did a fantastic job, and he ran over, brought set everything up, and the camera was still rolling, and then we shot that scene. And I remember Katie, our makeup girl, she was with me in front of the monitor, and then she turned, and her the only thing she said like, I'm traumatized. And that was like, oh, so well, it worked. That was great, and that was that was the best thing on set for me. And I think, I'm not sure, but actually that was the last scene like of the movie, and that was the last the day, like the last scene of the day, and the last day from the shoot. Yeah,
Wow. Well, I know exactly what scene you're talking about, and everyone else will know it as soon as they get there too. But um, it's amazing that that the actor just said I'm game, and you were able
yeah,
to set it up because I
yeah.
think it's a
Because
really it elevates that
it
scene
is.
quite a bit.
Yes. So it was also like when we send out the script to the actors, it's like it was like, oh shit, I mean, that's something. But everyone who's in this movie, and I think they understood the levels and everything, and they understood what the movie is. And yeah, so I'm very happy and thankful for every single person who worked on that movie and understood what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
there's something that I think culturally right now we're in a moment with horror in particular where movies like the Terrifier films
Yes.
have opened up the doors, so to speak, for more
Oh,
transgressive horror
absolutely.
to
Especially
be in
Terrifier.
theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, you mentioned before we started recording that Garden of Eden wasn't always, this has been a long process. So
Yes.
I think from your perspective, do you feel like the time is right now for more transgressive filmmakers to get their films made?
Oh, I think that's 100% the case. So I bring that up a lot, but Terrifier really opened the door not only for independent filmmakers, but also for like the gore. Actually,
Yeah,
it like the all the mainstream audience are more now used to that kind of stuff. So and it showed like that. Okay, that's what they want to see. They don't want to see those PG-13 slashers or anything like that anymore. So people want to see like the fun, or like the gore, the blood, and all those, like the stuff that's, and Terrifier proved that. So, and that's why I'm every single indie director, filmmaker, whatever, should be very happy what Damien and his team did, and because we needed one movie to break, and that was the one. That's fantastic.
right.
So, and and now the door is open, and we can't lock it anymore.
You're right. I mean,
He threw the key away somewhere. So yeah.
it's almost like what happened with The Exorcist, in that the sense that
Yes.
that really exploded the kinds of horror movies people could make and showed you
Yes.
that what's acceptable isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily mean that's entertainment. So we can make entertaining unacceptable.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I'm curious more about your journey to becoming a filmmaker. Like, what are the films that caused you to say, "Hey, I want to make that"? Like,
Yeah.
was it were you watching like Necromantic one day? You're like, you know what? This is my kind of fucked up. I want to make that movie.
Actually, it was not the fucked up stuff at all. It started with me with Scream, and it's that I remember seeing that on TV, like the small little like trailer things on TV, and I was like, "What is this?" And I don't know why, but that like caught my attention so much. And I was too young to go to the theater and watch it, but my mom and I we drove to every single theater, and after it wasn't a screening anymore, so we bought all the posters and everything. And the day it got released on VHS, my mom rented it and watched it like on a Saturday night or whatever, and to see if it's okay to show it to me in the morning. And then she fell asleep at during like half of the movie, and she said, "Well, it's fine. We can watch it together." And then she had no idea what happens at the end, and like, "Well, okay, well, that was a lie." So, but after that movie, that was the I think I started writing scripts after seeing Scream, which were all of those like little stories were like pretty much a copy of Scream. Um, and but that's how it started, and then I made little like films with my friends in high school, and that's how it started. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's amazing to see kind of how, how you've come through your career and particularly all of the films that you have coming out and you've released since, you started making films. I mean, I was looking at your IMDb, you've got a handful of movies that are either in production or kind of in
Yes.
post,
There's
two of
like
which
this year's like it's coming out a lot. So like there's like a lot of coming out. There's like Pretty Boy, Garden of Eden, Brood 76, 86, and then I just finished the other movie called Jurassic Reborn, which is like a asylum movie. But then we had so much fun doing it, and even there I slipped in some gory stuff. Finally, it's like, hey, let's do this.
Well,
And
I'm curious to know about 96 or 76 and 86. When do those have release dates quite yet? Oh.
okay, great.
All right, so I know you've said you've got a bunch of movies coming out this year. You've listed a few. Two of them that I think stood out to me were Brute 1976 and 1986. So
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit more about those? I know they're homages to like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Hills Have Eyes, but are we going to be seeing those this year? And if so, any idea when?
Yes, yes. So both are 76 is definitely coming out this year. We're also hoping 86 coming out through the pretty much the same time or a little bit later. Um, and yeah, 76 is like our homage and love to like Hills of Ice, Texas Chainsaw, the dirty, dusty, and the yeah, those kind of movies from the 70s and early in more as 70s, yeah. So and 86 is more of the 80s fun and ridiculously like gory movies and all that kind of stuff from what we love from the 80s, like very Friday the 13th, The Burning, and that kind of stuff.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait. It's going to be a great year for you, Marcel, I can tell. And my last question for you is a bit of a fun one, but for some reason, folks have a hard time with it. So I hope it's not a brain buster for you. But if you were asked to program a double feature with Garden of Eden, what movie do you think would go really well with it?
With Garden of Eden, like a whole like one of my movie or whatever movie.
It could be anything. Could be one of your movies, could be a totally different
Um,
movie.
okay, well then I would pick a different movie, none of my movies. So the question is, should they start with Garden of Eden or okay here?
You can
um,
choose that. So it can go whatever order you want, but it's just what movie would go
yes,
well.
yes. Bum bum bum. This is a hard question. um, okay, so I'm trying to think if they need something to like to like calm
Cleanse the
down.
palate.
Yeah, like okay, so I would start with Garden of Eden because it's like also really long. And it's not a short movie, so it's like 2 hours long. So they should start with that and then maybe watch the Brady Bunch after.
Okay.
Yeah,
Something very
something like
wholesome.
that. Yeah, that's I think that's That's what they should do.
I love it. I love it. You're going to see it now. You're going to see Brady Bunch Garden of Eden parties coming any day
Yes.
now with people putting on their favorite episodes bookended by the Garden of Eden. So,
Yeah.
well, Marcel, I just want to say thank you again for taking some time to
No,
speak with
thank
me.
you. And yeah,
Go
thank you
ahead.
for your time and yeah, and everything.
Oh, of course. And to remind everyone that's watching this that Garden of Eden will be released soon. So please
Yes.
keep your eye on Macabre Daily. We'll be sharing the news as soon as we have a release date. We'll be sharing our
Yeah.
review. And Marcel, we wish you all the best of luck, not just on Garden of Eden, but the other films you have releasing this year and next. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.